Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
We are back. I know it's been since November 2024. It has been a ridiculous amount of time since
been 84 years.
So you go there, I go to. It's been 12 years.
Guess who's back?
Back again. We are back. Tell your friends.
Yes.
Anyway, yes, we are back here, and I guess we should start with a little life update because, yes, we haven't been recording a podcast, but that does not mean we've not been doing anything.
We have been doing stuff.
We've been doing so much. I guess we should probably start with start in chronological order. I guess the first thing that we kind of stopped doing podcasts for, and we had said before that we got a book deal.
We gave you warning.
We did have, we received a book deal, and our very first book,
Strange Ways to Die in the Tudor Ages,
was written and was published on the 30th of August 2025.
By the wonderful Pen and Sword Books.
Yes, so the first half of last year was taken up by getting this book completely ready, as well as writing book 2,
Strange Ways to Die in the Dark Ages,
which was published on the 9th of February this year.
By the wonderful Pen and Sword Books.
Yes, so we've written 2 books in that time, which was...
That's my sound of surprise.
I don't know if I was prepared for everything that goes into writing a book because, it took over. It feels weird to say now because at the time it felt ages.
Yeah.
But it took over a year for both. But they're both out there now.
In a weird kind of way, I think we approached it in the right way because I think we had a bit of fear initially in that, oh my god, I don't know how we're going to start this. So instead of starting writing, we started researching.
Yeah.
And I think that actually helped because then when it came time to sit down and write, we had all this information in our heads already. And honestly, some of the rabbit holes we have been down are intriguing.
Yeah.
Disturbing.
Much.
Amusing.
Yeah.
The amount, in the Tudor era, you were never truly safe from a cow.
No.
That's all I'm going to say.
No.
Yeah. Or a bear.
Mm-mm. Or children carrying weaponry.
Yeah, don't give children knives.
So yeah,
good rule of thumb, to be fair.
These books are out now.
Yes.
Go and buy them. We know that a lot of people have been buying them because we've been having a lot more listens to our podcast.
Yeah.
We haven't recorded anything in 18 months, but we've still been getting lots of daily listens from people who must have picked up our book and saw that we were a podcast.
Yeah.
And that's insane.
It's humbling. It really is. If you found us through the books, welcome aboard this historical crazy train.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a really good way. That's exactly what we are.
Thank you.
And this podcast is what started everything. Our Ridiculous Deaths segment was listened to by our publisher, and that's what got them to get in touch with us to write a book.
And a big shout out to the fantastic team at Pen and Sword. They've been incredibly supportive. Couldn't ask for better.
Definitely not.
If you want a copy of the book, you can go to Pen and Sword Books online. It's also available at Waterstones and Barnes & Noble if you're in the US.
Yep. Only Strange Ways to Die in the Tudor Ages is available in America. Strange Ways to Die in the Dark Ages isn't available yet. But that is a couple of months later. But we know it's coming. But yeah, you can also get it online as well as physically in stores. I found Strange Ways to Die in the Tudor Ages in our local Waterstones and it blew my mind.
And apparently it's in our local library.
Yep. Mental. It's crazy.
Yeah. Currently in hardback. Yeah. But we believe there's scope to get it into paperback in the near future.
Yep, there is. We're not entirely sure yet when the next book in the series is coming out. As soon as we know, you'll know. We can say that we are writing a 3rd book with Pen and Sword, however, not the Strange Way to Die series. It's completely different. It's more along paranormal and ghosts, but that's pretty much all we can kind of say.
We can't really say too much of it, but
it's due in August.
Sure it'll be along the lines of something a lot of our listeners would like.
Yes, it's due. Our first draft is due the end of August.
Yes.
which is really exciting. So we are still doing that, but we thought we needed to bring the podcast back.
Yeah.
We've missed it. You guys are listening, and we want to do something fresh and fun.
And there's so much more history to cover.
Oh my God, so much.
So much more. We have barely scratched the surface.
Mm-hmm.
We are not even a drop in the ocean. We are like a tiny, tiny speck.
Mm-hmm.
We're like an atom of H2O.
And I guess the next bit of news to say that on this podcast, of also what we haven't been massively recording.
Yep.
I had a baby.
You did. You did.
I did. My son Zachary was born on the 20th of November last year. So I spent a lot of last year writing and growing an entire human being.
Yep.
And now keeping him alive. I've done it for 4 months now. And it's all right.
I mean, you have a baby. I dyed my hair.
You help with my baby. You are the bestest auntie god dude ever.
He is the sweetest little thing.
He is very cute. But that is why we also have a bit of a longer extension with this next book. Because they were like, can you write it for February? And we were like, I'm having a baby.
No, I'm incubating, sorry.
Yeah. So it has been quite a lot in the life of us. We've also been heavily involved in our amateur dramatic stuff at What the Players. We've both been on the PT for the last year.
Yep, that's production team. So being involved behind the scenes and helping the wonderful cast to be more of their wonderful selves.
Yep, Carrie's been an MD extraordinaire. We did Sweeney Todd, which was mental. We did
it was fantastic, but it was hard work.
Yeah, we did Alice in Wonderland the pantomime.
Yep.
We were also both in the previous pantomime of the Snow Queen.
Yep.
We also took part in professional acting with Pebble Trees Productions.
Yes, shout out to Tobias.
Yep, of the new podcast, The Spoiler Buffet.
Yep.
Him and our friend Liam of the Manic podcast. They have done a new one called The Spoiler Buffet.
And if you listen to our episode on vampires, on Vlad the Impaler, they're the guest stars in that.
Yes, and Liam has also guest starred on our Pinocchio episode.
The Haunting He Halls.
Yes. So, as I said, we haven't been sat doing nothing.
No.
We've done a lot.
Yeah.
But we are back and determined with this relaunch. This is a relaunch.
Yes.
That's why we've called it Still Biting Off More Than We Can Tudor, as a homage to our very, very first episode back in my kitchen in 2018.
Do you remember that? It was like pre-COVID. We barely had anything to do apart from work.
Episode a week for over a year.
How? And then life.
But this is 8 years. 8 years of podcast. Oh my goodness.
Oh wow.
And it's opened more doors than we can imagine, and I think we're only just getting started.
I haven't even had a relationship at last.
Big one. You have, go on with me.
I mean, listen, you're a different kind of soulmate. Touched her face just so that people know.
She did. She stroked my cheeks.
Stroke of the face.
Well, we've decided in this opening episode we are going to do our 3rd annual.
Here's to you.
Yes. So, I guess let's pour a drink. Yeah. As we do here. We like to have a beveragino whilst we're recording. Mine is a rosé wine this evening, and yours is a Guinness.
Yes.
Yep. So, let's get into it.
Let's get historical. Sorry.
So, if you've listened to any of our previous awards, you know that we take a type of tea and we've assigned it a subject.
Yep.
You pick somebody you think is the best for that.
Yep.
I pick somebody which I think is the best for that.
Yep.
We discuss it.
Yep.
And then we kind of decide between us who we think actually wins.
Yes.
We'll then put it online afterwards, and you guys can say whether or not you agree with us, or put up somebody you think would actually beat both of what we've said.
Yes. We welcome audience participation, and we don't know who the other person's put.
No, we don't.
So this is interesting.
But we could also put the same person in that, which means they automatically win.
Yes, I can actually see some of your notes, and I know that one of them is going to be very interesting because where you've put a person, I've put an event.
Oh, that'll be really cool.
Yes.
So,
We did in our very first one. So our very first category was oolong tea.
Yep.
So that was supposed to be the longest reigning monarch because, you know, oolong.
Mm-hmm.
But that was that's not going to change anytime soon.
Probably in our lifetime, to be fair.
No, probably.
Unless something really bad happens.
Yes. Unless there's someone out there who's been reigning for a while already, just keeps going. Or I finally achieve my dream of actual immortality. I am actually secretly an eldritch being, ladies and gentlemen, and people, listeners.
You should not be telling people that. People are going to want to experiment on you.
I mean, they can. I'm not a very interesting eldritch being. I like to potter around my house in my pajamas. That's the most I do with my immortality.
Fair one.
So we're not doing the oolong. However,
because that would be the late Queen Elizabeth II.
Or, the late Queen Elizabeth II of England, but it was the previous... I cannot remember who it was for the first one. Listen to our first Histortea Awards and you'll find out who the winner was. But, by the time when we recorded that, Queen Elizabeth did keep going for a little bit longer after that. So, props to Her late Majesty.
Yes. So, that one, at the moment, is not going to change.
No.
So, that will be a retired category.
Yes.
So, where do you want to start then, my dude?
Shall we start with our new one of our new categories?
Oh, okay.
This is dandelion tea.
And the subject?
Historical underdog. Because dandelion is a weed, but in tea form, it's actually pretty good for you.
But it's also a weed that people don't expect much of, but it's actually really pretty and does a lot for the bees.
Exactly.
So, who did you pick?
I picked Joan of Arc.
Okay.
Because underdog, she was a teenage girl. She was a peasant. You wouldn't really expect too much from her during that time. We're talking late 13, early 1400s. The 100 Years' War was going on in France. And yeah, she was just a young girl, basically. But she then had visions from God telling her that she needed to go and lead the French army in battle against the English.
That sounds insane.
It does sound insane, but weirdly enough, she cut her hair, she put on armour, and she joined the army. And she actually did really, really well. She even at one point, she took an arrow to the shoulder and carried on fighting. She rose through the ranks from being this... what on earth are you doing here kind of girl, to actually leading some of the troops because she repeatedly fought injured and she continued going. She eventually got caught by the English and the French wouldn't pay her ransom because at the end of the day she was still a woman and she was saying that she was still having visions from God. So they put her on trial in an ecclesiastical court, so against English churchmen, and they basically said, you claim to be hearing God, so basically why are you doing this? We think you're a witch. And she essentially said that if she is in God's favour, then she really hopes that he keeps her there, and if she isn't, then let him take her. In the end, they accused her of witchcraft and they burnt her at the stake for heresy. So basically they burned heretics at the stake because that was supposed to simulate the fires of hell so that their soul could then be saved in hell. But because of her belief in God and the fact that she did so well, she was then turned into a martyr. So not even death could stop her. She's now a Catholic martyr, Saint Joan. She was sainted, and as a result of what she did, the Dauphin Charles then fought back against the English and started to win decisive victories against the English.
Horrible History is a great song.
They do. To
the tune of Jessie J's Price Tag.
Yes, it's really, really catchy. And honestly, the amount of times I was saying things I was trying to
I'm not singing it.
It was so hard. But she was an intriguing figure. Whether or not you believe that she had visions or it was a form of religious psychosis, she still went out and fought, put her life on the line, saved other soldiers.
And she was about 14, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Mental.
It was very, very impressive.
Very impressive. Well, mine is kind of on the same thing about wars and stuff.
Yep.
But mine is Desmond Doss. Okay. And I recently watched for the second or third time, because I love that sort of films, Hacksaw Ridge, where Andrew Garfield plays Desmond Doss. Okay. It's fantastic. He is absolutely brilliant in it. I think I think he won an Oscar, but I'm not completely sure. He was definitely nominated. But it's a fantastic movie. Anyway, Desmond Doss was a United States Army combat medic during World War II, but he was also a devout Seventh-day Adventist, and due to this, he was a conscientious objector and refused to carry a weapon whatsoever. He wanted to run into war with everybody else, be a medic without a gun.
Okay.
A lot of people were against this.
Yeah.
Because they were like, if you want to run into war without a gun, whatever. But it's more of a, how are you going to have my back?
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, I get that.
But he carried on, and he won the respect of all of his people, and to everyone in his team. Eventually was had his back. Anyway, he still served bravely on the front lines, most notably during the Battle of Okinawa at, as I said, Hacksaw Ridge, which was a steep and dangerous cliff where fighting was especially brutal. The Americans would go over and the Japanese were just there. And
the Japanese had the high ground.
Technically, they had the high ground, but the way they could get around is because they built tunnels underneath. Right. So they popped up on places and everyone was like, how did they get there? We didn't see them. Because they had tunnels underneath.
Yeah. Guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, but then there was a thing where the Americans would go back down and they'd stop fighting at night. This is where he single-handedly rescued around 75 wounded soldiers underneath intense enemy fire when he was seen.
Wow, okay.
He basically, you can see it, you need to watch the movie, it's so good, but he would go and get them and he kind of saw some rope and he made a makeshift lasso around them. Yeah. And he was at the top and he lowered the men down to the bottom of Hacksaw Ridge. Yeah. And he did that, 75 people. For his extraordinary courage and selflessness, he became the very first conscientious objector to receive the Medal of Honor, and his story is widely remembered as a powerful example of faith, conviction, and heroism without violence. I don't know if it's completely true, but in the movie, he does this, he saves all the people, and then his officer is like, we've got to go back up. But it's a Saturday. And he told them in the movie, he's like, I don't do it, Saturdays is our Sabbath. Yeah. And they say, I know it's a Saturday, but we really want to go over. So they have the whole entire platoon, wait until he's prayed to go over. So it just shows, at the beginning of the film, they're beating him up for wanting him to leave. And at the end, he's praying and they're all waiting to go over because he went and he literally risked his life more than half of those men without a gun.
That is pretty impressive.
Exactly. He was an incredible. He died in 2005.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So he lived a life, did Desmond Doss. So yeah, he's my historical underdog.
Well, for me, there is one clear winner here. As wonderful as Joan of Arc's courage was, she was armed. She had the ability to fight back and she used it. And she was also in a field of battle where, yes, there would have been cannon fire. Yes, there would have been an element of artillery fire. There also would have been a lot of things going on around her, but her goal was to kill or be killed. She was not necessarily there to save, except to maybe help the people around her. Desmond Doss was there to save, and he did it without shedding blood. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, to me, I'm going to go with yours. I'm going to say Desmond Doss.
Yay! One to me, and also one to Desmond Doss.
So, the winner of the Dandelion Tea Award for Historical Underdog, Desmond Doss.
Amazing. Fabulous. You need to watch Hacksaw Ridge, though.
Yeah, I do.
It's on Now TV.
I'm very picky about my war films because I like to show the truth and the history of it rather than just glorifying war, because things that happened during the First and Second World War, I don't think they should be glorified. They should be told factually, because yes, there were some incredible people like Desmond Doss, like Digby Tatham Water, who was our Dragonwell Tea, our historical legend in the first ever one. There were people like that who did some amazing things. Yeah. But you can't just show war as all glory. No. There has to be the element of the truth behind it. Yeah. And that's why I love things like 1917 or Dunkirk. Also Saving Private Ryan to an extent, just that opening scene.
The opening is incredible.
It is fantastic. But also From the Other Side of Things, so The Pianist with Adrian Brody. It's one of the few roles I really like Adrian Brody in, and of course Schindler's List.
Oh god, yeah. And weirdly, Jojo Rabbit. That got us.
Yes.
We started watching it and we were like, this is a really, really funny film. And then The Red Shoes, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And we were like,
oh my God. I know he's a potentially problematic, divisive figure in some arenas now, but props to Taika Waititi for adapting that.
Yeah.
That was, and isn't it based on a book?
Mm-hmm.
I want to read the book.
Yeah.
And also The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas.
So yeah, there's lots of very good, but Hacksaw Ridge is very much, the fighting bit doesn't come till like a third of the way through.
You've got to care about the character before you put them in danger. That's something that Stephen King said. If you're going to write a successful horror or action, you have to make people care about the character and then put them in danger.
Fact.
And the fact they need to build up the lore about Desmond.
Yeah, and it's very cool. What is going to be our next tea, my dude?
Our next one is going to be the Dragonwell tea, which is the coolest historical figure.
I found this one really hard because because the word cool, that is so vast.
Yeah.
What I think is cool is different to what you think is cool, to what they think is cool. What do we think cool actually is? Is it a cool person? Is it because they did something cool? Is it because they're really cool? Like,
I kind of went for someone who's a bit of a badass.
Awesome. Go on then.
I went for Kutalon.
Okay.
She was a Mongolian princess. She was daughter of Kaidu and apparently cousin of Kublai Khan, who was a descendant of Genghis Khan. She refused to accept the hand in marriage of any man who could not beat her in wrestling.
Fair.
The challenge was a wrestling match, and if they won, she would marry them. If she won, then she would remain single. They would be shamed, and she would get their horse.
Just a single horse?
Yeah, just their horse. The horse they rode in on.
Amazing.
She ended up with, some reports say, around 10,000 horses from defeated men.
Incredible.
Eventually she did marry, though sources differ as to who, but she's written about by the likes of Marco Polo.
Oh, wow.
And she was quite an influential figure, and she was apparently a really proficient warrior as well.
Well, she must have been if she can.
I mean, the Mongolian tribes, they were all fantastic warriors at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, she would ride in on horseback, and she was a great archer. She was a wrestler. But yeah, she. At the very least, she won thousands of horses. But yeah, some records do say that she had a whole herd of horses, I think, of up to around 10,000 horses from all the men she defeated.
That's amazing. You can do that. Yeah. I'm not going to marry someone again until after I can beat them in wrestling. Don't you beat me at wrestling?
I mean, can you wrestle though?
I don't know. That depends how weak John is.
To be honest, I don't know whose chances I fancy more. John is probably stronger than you, but also John has the evolutionary disadvantage of having his soft parts on the outside. Which is a design flaw in males, I think.
Yes. Well, she sounds cool.
Yes.
Like, she definitely is pretty awesome. Okay, so I've gone for someone who's more well known.
Yeah.
I went for Leonardo da Vinci.
Legend.
Yeah, because of his sheer range of talents, really, and how far ahead of his time he was.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he lived during the Renaissance. He was an amazing painter. Mm-hmm. He did the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. You know all of that. Yes. That's not why I think he's cool. Don't get me wrong. Art is fun. Pictures are cool, but I don't get it. I'm not one of these people who can stare at art and have like a epiphany or think that, oh my God, that range of green is really touching the part of my brain or something. I don't understand art. Okay? That's not why I think that's cool. It was the fact that after he died, they found notebooks filled with detailed sketches of inventions such as flying machines, armoured vehicles, and even concepts resembling helicopters that wouldn't become a reality for centuries.
That's pretty impressive.
And at the same time, he conducted several studies of the human anatomy. He was dissecting bodies to understand how muscles and organs worked, and he greatly improved the realism of his art and he contributed that to scientific knowledge.
I mean, yeah, so truly a man.
Yeah, that's the Jesus dude, isn't it? Yeah, with all the circles around it.
Yeah, to study like human male anatomy.
But the fact that he saw a helicopter like 200 odd years before a helicopter would come into existence.
Right. Leonardo da Vinci is my case for backwards reincarnation. So, like reincarnation, you're then put into your next life, etc. What if you can be reincarnated back in time? So his sketches are like his deep hidden memories from a past life that was actually in the future.
That could be it. or time travel is real.
Yeah, time travel is possibly real.
Yeah,
but also, I mean, he rarely ever actually finished things.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, his work. I actually had a picture, like a blown up sketch version of his Mahusive ballista in my house at one point, and that was a terrifying weapon of war.
Facts.
But yeah, he was pretty awesome. I get it.
So that is my
okay.
Which I think that is cool, but I think Catalulan woman, she's cool. If we're looking at a cool, badass, like, oh, you're awesome.
Yeah.
That is just cool.
It's like Dragonwell T.
Yeah. He's awesome because what he's done is fab.
Oh, yeah.
But I would be like, if I had to meet the two, I'd want to shake her hand.
Yeah.
Like, you're a badass.
I mean, you want to shake her hand quickly and then back away slowly.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I come in peace.
Yep. No, I come in peace and I do not have a horse and I don't want to marry you. No, she was fantastic. So Dragonwell T, the winner of Coolest Historical Figure, Kutalan, the Mongolian Princess. Absolutely epic. So, what is our next category, my dude?
It is the green tea, which is the historical game changer. And from what I can see, this is where we differed.
Yes.
Slightly.
Yes. I had to choose between the two, so I know which one I'm going. I've put two down, but I know which one I'm going to go.
Both of them are complete. I've gone for a person.
Yes.
I've gone for a person. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Cool. I chose Marie Curie.
Okay.
She was obviously a pioneering scientist who was known for her groundbreaking research in radioactivity.
Mm-hmm.
But because of this, I think she could also be used in one of our ridiculous deaths. No offence,
Yeah.
She helped to define the term radioactivity as well. She was born in Poland, worked in France, and she discovered the elements polonium and radium alongside her husband, Pierre Curie. She became the first woman to win a Nobel Prize and remains the only one to have won it twice for two different fields, physics and chemistry.
Okay, that's impressive.
Yeah. She laid the foundation for advances in medical treatments such as cancer therapy. However, due to all of this prolonged exposure to radiation, that she was trying to kind of work about the research into radioactivity and how we can use it in medicine and such, it caused her to die. She died of radiation poisoning.
Didn't she have to be buried in a lead-lined coffin?
Massively, yeah.
Right.
And this highlighted both the promise and the dangers of her discoveries.
Yes.
So without her, this probably would have been found at some point, but she found it so early that I think she saved a lot of lives because it was found when it was.
Yeah.
So I think she changed the game. Especially as a woman winning 2 Nobel Peace Prizes.
Yeah.
Like, amazing.
It's incredible. And some of the uses, obviously, that we know later on of polonium and radium.
Mm-hmm. But the fact that she laid the groundwork for a lot of cancer research is fantastic. And they've actually named in the UK a cancer research charity after Marie Curie charity. Yes. That's mine. So which one are you going for?
I have 2. So I'm going to give an honourable mention to the invention.
Okay.
The printing press by Johannes Gutenberg, which was invented in 1440 in Germany. Because of that kind of spearheaded the Renaissance. It basically brought books to the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that we can't be mad about. You had Gutenberg and then William Caxton in England. But the historical game changer that I've gone for was the Black Death.
Very different to me.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
In 1346 to 1353, the deadliest outbreak of the second plague pandemic, known as a Black Death, for how it made blood pool in the extremities, caused by the bacteria Yersinia pestis, caused a severe labour shortage. This led to mass migration from rural to the now much more sparsely populated urban areas. It also led to social and economic changes as basically roughly 50% of the European population was wiped out.
That's mental if you think about it.
That is insane. I mean, yes, the population was lower at the time, but it was still half the population was gone.
Which is crazy.
It is also often credited, it's caused a lot of, let's say, social economic changes. So a lot of people, now that because it spread more commonly in urban areas, because people lived closer, there was poor hygiene. That basically decimated cities. And once the plague had died down, people then started to move into those cities to look for work. That meant there was a shortage of labour out in the fields, which then led to some economic and social reforms around having to keep paid labour. So we didn't have so much of a serfdom, so that led to some feudal reforms. And then that basically changed England to how we then started to see it emerging after that, which then led to the higher medieval period, into the 100 Years' War and the War of the Roses, and then onwards into the Tudor era. That was, whilst the plague did keep... it came and went across several centuries. Even before that, the Black Death is often cited as the worst and most lethal single instance of the plague. But the coolest part of it is often credited as being responsible with surnames becoming more commonly used.
Go on.
Because when people would move from loads of different areas in the country into town, if you had 5 different Emilys, for example, you would have, I don't know, Emily from Lynn. So you'd have to mark yourself as Emily from King's Lynn so that people didn't get you confused with Emily, the blacksmith's daughter. So Emily, the blacksmith's daughter, would be Emily Smith. You would then become Emily Lynn. So you would have you'd have your noble patronymics, so like your noble family names. And then you'd also have your basic patronymics, so like John Jackson, John the son of Jack.
Yeah.
But then you'd have your place names or your career names. So Fletchers, people who made arrows. Smith, silversmith, blacksmith. Tanner, Fletcher. I've already said Fletcher. Thatcher, that was it. Things like that, names after jobs. And then because people then started to record that down, they started to write that a bit more, they became more commonly used.
That's really cool. Oh, they're so different.
They really are so different.
And you can't...
But they both had a really important impact in their own way. I think we might have a tie.
Yeah. She obviously changed that, but the Black Death changed... I think you can arguably say that changed more. She changed it by making something specific that, yes, has helped with cancer and everything, but the Black Death changed a lot more. See, the world never really recovered.
The Black Death changed the world, but she changed the modern world. Or made the world word... wow, I've malfunctioned.
If you can see that gif of, like, you know when you got something that goes, you know, when it skips a beat?
Yeah.
That was your face.
It was buffering.
You were majorly buffering.
She made the world modern. Oh, yeah. I think we may have to have a tie.
I think we'll have to put it out to the public.
Yes. Put it out. We'll pop it on our socials.
Yeah. Don't just think of it because Marie Curie would be the nice one to win because she did something lovely.
Yeah.
You want to think about it in more actual, like, terms of change.
Make an impassioned plea for Marie Curie.
She came up with radiotherapy, radioactivity that has proven to cure some cancers or shrink tumours.
Do it to redeem the rats.
Oh my god. Oh dear. Okay, so we don't have a winner for that one.
We don't. That's 10. Sadness. So, sorrows, prayers.
Sorrows, and prayers. What's the next tea, dude?
The next tea is gunpowder tea, aka the most epic battle.
This one I also found out because there's so many battles that we've spoken about, so many battles that there are that are epic for killed the most people, or was the most stupid thing to do, as in like the battle of the Trojan horse, ridiculous, and that is quite epic. You know, big wooden horse. Let's just let this in. But yeah. So where did we go?
I went for a deep matter of British pride, the Battle of Agincourt. We're talking mud, longbows, French humiliation, says it all, really. It took place on the 25th of October 1415 at Agincourt in France, and was a decisive victory for the English under Henry V as part of the 100 Years' War. Henry's English army was exhausted. They suffered from dysentery and were outnumbered at between 6,000 to 9,000 men. The French, however,
a big difference.
Yep, the French were fully armoured, well rested and fit, numbering around 12 to 30,000 men. So at the least, they had double the amount of men. At the most, they had like 5 times the amount of men. The English used the terrain and weather to their advantage, however, as we have so often done in history. Yep. With the heavily armoured French knights on horseback charging into the wet and now boggy field, their horses then became stuck in the thick mud, which allowed the expertly skilled English longbowmen to pick them off before the main army went in. It's estimated that the French lost between 6 to 10,000 men that day, whilst the English lost only 600. All in the space of around 3 hours.
Whoa.
Up to around 2,000 French were captured, and Henry V ordered no quarter for a lot of them, which means that many were executed on the day. Also, this is the one bit that made me laugh when I first heard about it. Because of their dodgy stomachs, some of the longbowmen actually fought without trousers on, so that they could keep firing even whilst the dysentery was causing them to poo. So they'd literally be firing with one hand, and then squeeze out a dookie, and then slowly although it wasn't, it was runny, it was horrible.
It was literally
they would have been in cramping agony whilst still shooting the French.
And
I mean,
that's the British with the whole keep on keeping up, innit?
Yeah, and
keep on keeping on.
That was the decisive battle that then led to Henry VIII becoming the heir to the throne of France, and marrying Catherine of Valois. Unfortunately, Henry himself died not long after of dysentery. And Catherine of Valois went on to marry a gentleman called, was it Owen Tudor? Who,
know that name.
He was then the ancestor, and she was the ancestor of Henry Tudor.
Margaret Beaufort's love.
Yeah, the father of Margaret Beaufort's love.
Fun. Well, I went for, and this is going to be fun because obviously you aren't here to help with pronunciation.
Okay.
So, this is the Battle of Cannae?
This was one I was considering.
Really?
This one in Gargamela.
Oh, right.
Okay.
It was fought between Rome and
Carthage.
Thank you. The battle saw the Carthaginian. What a word.
Yep.
Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca faced a much larger Roman army and defeat it through clever tactics rather than sheer force. So Hannibal arranged for his troops so that his centre gradually gave way under Roman pressure. So he put a lot of in the middle so that the Romans thought they were winning, and it would draw them inward. And while his weaker people were being, in the middle with the Romans, his much stronger forces were on their flanks, held their ground. And at the perfect moment, the army closed in from both sides and attacked from behind, completely surrounding the Romans in a manoeuvre known as the double envelopment. The result was catastrophic for Rome, with tens of thousands of soldiers killed. And this battle remains a classic example of how careful planning, positioning, and timing can overcome overwhelming odds. But what makes this so epic is that its strategy is still studied today in our military academies as a textbook example of how intelligence, positioning, and timing can defeat a much larger force. So, yeah, it is still used today as to this was epic because he was so clever. This Hannibal dude, clever.
Meanwhile, Agincourt is used as a middle figure up to the French.
Well, we're British. We love that.
It's used.
Sorry to any French listeners.
Yes. No, we love the French. We really do love the French. And we recognise that they then whooped us back in the rest of the 100 Years' War. But yeah, the Battle of Agincourt was pretty epic. However, in your favour, Hannibal Barca fought some of the Romans with elephants.
Yeah.
And the Romans were like,
I didn't add that bit.
What the hell is that? So, you know what? I'm going to give this one to Hannibal.
Yay!
Hannibal and his elephants.
Even though I didn't include the elephants.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really cool because they still study it today.
Yes, that's one hell of an impression to leave.
Right.
So, the Gunpowder Tea Award for most epic battle goes to the Battle of Cannae.
Way!
What is our next category?
It is our Earl Grey, which as a tea smells, I think, better than it tastes. I want Earl Grey to taste as good as it smells, but it never does. It tastes too much like perfume.
See, I really like Earl Grey, and for the nerdiest of reasons. So, growing up, my dad was a big Star Trek fan, and his favourite series was Next Generation. And of course, for anyone who's watched it, Captain Picard's favourite drink was Earl Grey hot. So I was intrigued to figure out what my favourite starship captain actually drank, like what this tasted like, and I tasted it, and I really liked it. So I can safely say that I owe my love of Earl Grey to Captain Picard, aka Sir Patrick Stewart.
You were about to miss out the Sir.
I was about to miss out the Sir, and he has owned that Sir.
He absolutely has.
Incredible actor, incredible Shakespearean actor, legend of a man.
Facts face.
As much as it pains me, this is not the Patrick Stewart show.
No.
So,
best
Earl Grey. Who beeth thy monarch?
I chose one of my historical bays.
Okay.
Edward IV.
Ooh. Legend.
Yeah. Played beautifully by Max Irons in The White Queen.
Oh, yes, to be fair.
Beautiful man. Anyway, he is often considered a great king because of his strong leadership during the turbulent Wars of the Roses and his ability to secure and stabilise the rule despite constant challenges, hence all of the wars.
Mm-hmm.
He was coming to the throne as a young and dynamic leader. He proved himself a skilled military commander, winning decisive victories such as the Battle of Taunton, one of the largest and bloodiest battles ever fought on English soil.
Yep.
Edward combined physical presence and charisma with his political intelligence, restoring order after years of conflict and improving royal finances through effective management and trade support. He also promoted stability of strengthening the authority of the crown and reducing the power of over mighty nobles. He also him and Elizabeth Woodville did their duty and created many an heir and many a spare.
Yep.
And although his reign wasn't with controversy, Edward IV's success in winning, securing and effectively ruling the kingdom is why many historians view him as one of the more capable and impressive medieval English monarchs.
To be fair, at a time when the Plantagenet dynasty was
tenuous at best,
less than ideal.
Yeah.
He did bring back some of the old, like the glory days of the Plantagenets, harking back to likes of Edward III, and maybe not quite Edward the First, but
also from what I've read about him, I think that he is where, and I guess it makes sense why they're my historical base, that Henry VIII gets a lot of his Plantagenet side
of
Edward IV.
His looks, his physical prowess, his temper. Yeah, that is 100%.
For those that don't know, obviously, Plantagenet and Henry Tudor, it's because Henry VIII's mum was Edward IV's sister, fucking daughter.
Yeah, eldest daughter,
Elizabeth.
Yeah. And I can't really denounce your historical bay because he is the brother and preceding monarch of my historical bay, Richard III.
Yes.
So they're family, they are kin, and despite what some people said, looking at you, Thomas More, he was actually, they were very, very loyal to each other.
They were, and they kind of had to stand together with the whole George, Duke of Clarence, with the Earl of Warwick and the killing in the mob with wine and all that bollocks.
There's a bit of a blip there.
Yeah, but he was kind of in a thing where red, white.
Yeah.
He kept it within the white son of York for a while.
Yeah, he brought an era of peace in what had been a tumultuous time, and also still like outbreaks and uprisings and things like that. He managed. He was
captured a few times and all that jazz,
including not far off the coast of King's Lynn.
No, he wasn't. He was here. Him and Richard III came through him.
Yes, with Anthony Rivers, and they got caught by by merchants from the Hanseatic League who thought they were pirates. And then when they realised who they were like, "Oh, let's get you to Burgundy, my friend." All's fine. But so Edward IV is your Earl Grey nomination.
Yes.
Okay.
Who is your Earl Grey nomination?
For me, we go to Russia.
Oh, okay.
For Catherine the Great.
Nice.
Now she was not Russian by birth. She was actually born Sophie von Anhalt-Zerbst of now Germany, then Prussia. Well, actually more Poland, but it was under the rule of Prussia. She married Tsar Peter III, and together they had one son, Paul. Peter III, however, was not the most competent of rulers, and certainly not in Catherine's eyes. So she led a coup against him, and it was actually a bloodless coup. Peter did later, not long after, die in prison, and people have blamed her for it, but there's no direct evidence that she was personally involved.
Okay.
So they still class it as a bloodless coup. She was a huge patron of the arts, and upon marriage, she couldn't really speak Russian all that well, but she wanted to become Russian and get the love and approval of the people. So she changed her name from Sophie to Katerina, or Catherine. She's Russia's longest ruling female leader to date. She expanded the Russian Empire by around 200,000 square miles. She was pen pals with French writer and philosopher Voltaire. She said she led a bloodless coup. She was the first person in Russia to be inoculated against smallpox because she wanted to prove the safety of the vaccine to her people. So she's like, I will not let my people do something I would not do to myself. So she had herself vaccinated first.
That's cool.
She wrote her own plays. She wrote children's textbooks. She had a huge collection of art and lovers, though not a horse. That was propaganda. She also had a personal library of over 44,000 books.
Nice.
That's a dream. That is my goal. However, despite being a massive patron of the arts and a huge lover of like opera and music, she was completely tone deaf. And she had to be often told when to clap in music because she didn't quite understand.
Oh, God.
But that was a flaw. But yeah, she's one of the greatest greatest Tsar or empresses, Tsarinas, that Russia ever had, and she was very integral in bringing Russia in line more with the Western world and with civilization at the time, bringing the music and the Enlightenment to the courts, and really did a hell of a lot for getting education out to the people.
She's cool, isn't she? She did more for her people.
Yeah. Although
he did a lot for the crown, she did more for her people.
He brought peace, though, and she brought expansionism, which did lead to war, especially Crimean.
And there were wars during his time.
Yeah.
The Battle of Taunton.
Yeah. Yeah, the bloodiest battle on English soil. I've seen some of the so at the Micklegate Bar in York, they've got some of the bodies from Taunton. Oh, they took a beating.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rivers run red, apparently. But hey, at least he's not sexually tied to a horse. Well, I mean, it didn't happen. Propaganda, but mud sticks. It's a tricky one, isn't it?
It really is. Another tricky one.
Do we go for Ed or do we go for Kate? I said Ed for Kate.
Because, like, she did a lot more, obviously, for her people, and she was a lot more into the... She did more, like you said, writing books and textbooks and art and all that jazz.
But... I sense a but.
There isn't. I think she wins.
Okay.
It pains me to do it.
I can see the pain in your eyes.
But when it comes to putting them against each other, like we said, she did more for her people.
Yeah.
He kept the crown in and tried to make peace in England and all that. But she did more for everybody. So yeah, I think the award goes to Catherine the Great.
So the winner of Earl Grey Best Monarch is Catherine the Great of Russia. With a very, very decided honourable mention to Edward IV. So,
we're into the bit of the other side of our podcasts now.
Yes.
Black Tea, which is known as the most haunted place.
Oh, this one is another one where I had a little bit of a decision to make. But yeah, we know a lot of haunted places.
Yes, we do.
So, do you want to start us off?
I can. I've gone for, and I didn't know this place really existed until I was researching for this.
Okay.
So this is somewhere I kind of want to go. I want to do maybe a whole episode on because it seems really cool. It is Pluckley Village. It's in Kent. And it is widely regarded as the most haunted village in England, which makes it one of the creepiest places in our country.
And we have some pretty creepy places. We have some hauntings.
Despite its quaint appearance, the village is said to host over a dozen different ghosts, ranging from phantom highwaymen and weeping women to the spectral monk at the local Daring Arms pub. Visitors often report seeing shadowy figures in windows, sudden cold spots, and footsteps echoing along empty streets at night. Its long-reign history, combined with a remote rural setting, creates an unsettling atmosphere where the supernatural is unusually active. Many who stay overnight speak of a creepy sensation of being watched, cementing Pluckley's reputation as a truly eerie and unforgettable haunting spot.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard bits about Pluckley Village. It's always kind of little bits here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it's an entire haunted village.
And not a very big one, I think that's why. It's quite a quaint little village. It looks lovely, it looks pretty, it's picturesque. And then it's got all of these.
Is it an occupied village?
Yeah.
So people actually live there. And you can stay, I mean, you say many who stay overnight, so you can actually stay there.
Because you're ready.
I wonder if it's kind of like a pilgrimage site for ghost hunters. Paranormal investigators.
Look into that. Your mum would love it.
Mum would love it. Yeah, my mum is amongst many other wonderful things. She's a trans psychic medium. So she would either be in her element or she would hate every second of it. For all the right reasons, she would be bombarded.
Yeah.
No, it would be interesting. But I would not tell her much before we went there.
No.
Okay.
So who is your most haunted place?
We had two. I had Chillingham Castle.
Okay.
Which is supposedly the most haunted castle in England.
Okay.
Possibly in the UK. And that competes with the likes of Oxford Castle and like the Tower of London and things like that. So Chillingham's got things like the Blue Boy and the Torturer, and it still actually has human bones in one of its dungeons that is locked off from the public. However, the one I've gone with, and I'm going to have to be careful because there is a whole lot of folklore and haunting about this, but it's also a bit of a sensitive subject.
Yeah.
So we're now going to discuss elements of suicide. So if that will trigger you, please turn off for the next few minutes and come back to us. So I have gone for the Aokigahara Forest in Japan.
All right.
Known as the Suicide Forest.
Oh.
In 2003... 105 bodies were found in the forest.
Shit.
That was exceeding the previous record of 78 in 2002, just the year before. They increased during March, and it has actually led to officials placing a sign at the entry urging people to seek help. There are several novels about it, but it is considered an incredibly haunted tour place to go.
Sounds
because of all of that. It's at the base of Mount Fuji, and it is quite dense. It's got so many trees. It's really, really thick forest, and because it was at the base of the mountain, it was actually formed by a volcano. It's got a lot of magnetic iron, so compasses and electronic equipment often fail.
Okay.
So you walk into the forest and you are lost. And they've then got folklore. Now I love folklore. I'm fascinated by folklore. But there are certain cultures where I'm just like, I do not mess with this. And one of those cultures is Japan.
Yeah.
So Japanese folklore
that's why their horror movies are always terrifying.
But they've got things called yurei, which I'm going to apologise if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, which are ghosts of the dead, and yubasute, which are that's an action of abandoning the elderly. So basically, they would take the elderly out there and abandon them.
Question: Yurei, the ghost of the dead.
Yeah.
What other ghosts do you have?
What for?
The ghosts of the dead. Where else do ghosts come from?
Yeah, when you put it like that, yes.
Actually, my bad.
They do have other spirits and ghosts that aren't necessarily from the dead.
Okay, fair.
That's why. So locals and visitors often report this profound, very eerie silence and a feeling of unease as soon as you walk into the forest.
Yeah.
So it's like you can be standing on the outside and having a conversation. As soon as you walk in, it's like deathly quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And they attribute that to the restless spirits, the yurei, the people who died there. It's actually quite a somber cultural landmark, but it's very disorientating. So you go in there and your equipment fails. You cannot find your way out. You've got this strong sense of unease, and you know that around you, several hundred people have died.
That's creepy.
And you are lost alone and in the dark in this forest.
No, thank you.
So that is why my nomination is the Aokigahara Forest.
Just the story of it scares me more than that. Yeah.
It is creepy. And also, as we are recording this, it's gone very, very dark.
It has gone very dark. It's quite good with the light on.
Yeah, I think that's sensible. So we're saying that the winner of the black tea, so the most haunted place, would be the Aokigahara Forest?
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Which moves us nicely on to the next one, which is
chai tea.
Chai tea. Because chai tea is spicy, this is the scariest urban legend.
Yes. Can you say the name?
Yes. You've gone for the Kuchisake Onna.
Yes.
Which is...
according to legend, she is obviously from Japan, as we've just said that Japanese are creepy.
We don't screw with them.
We do not.
Ultimate respect to the Japanese.
Oh God, yeah.
Your stories are fantastic.
It's terrifying.
Yes.
According to legend, she is a vengeful spirit of a woman whose mouth was gruesomely slit from ear to ear, and she roams the streets or rural paths at night wearing a surgical mask. She confronts people, often children or unexpected passers-by, asking if they think she is beautiful. If they answer wrong, she attacks them. But even saying yes isn't always safe, as she may remove her mask to reveal her horrifying grin. What makes this legend especially terrifying is its unpredictability. It spreads fear through the idea that anyone could encounter her unexpectedly, turning ordinary streets or quiet paths into moments of dread. Doesn't really help when we had COVID, where everyone was wearing surgical masks.
Yep.
And a lot of people in Japan and other Asian areas, they wear face masks anyway.
Yes, a lot of times too, for spreading illness.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Yeah. We did it for COVID, so obviously it is a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, imagine you see this certain person, am I beautiful, yes or no, take it off and she's split from ear to ear.
The version that I've heard is that if you say no, she'll attack you.
Yeah.
If you say yes, she'll be like, oh, well, let me make you beautiful too.
Oh, fuck
and
that.
It's like, no. So there literally is no right answer.
No.
Okay.
So, scared the shit out of me when I was like, I think I just Googled, like, it's a scary urban legend, and I brought up loads, and I was like, this one can get in the bin.
The thing is, you're scary, like, that one scared me, but also the backup one that I've got also scares me.
Brilliant. Who have you got for your...
I have gone, so you've gone Japanese, I've gone for the Native American folklore of the skinwalker. And the skinwalker, there's different ideas about how they are created. And I'm not going to say the name too many times, because apparently when you start to summon them or start to talk about them, they then notice you and will find you. I'm hoping in England we are safe.
Almost have Beetlejuice.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say the name anymore. But this particular creature, it comes from... There's a lot of different folklore, but I believe it's commonly attributed to, and I could be wrong, this is quite common within Utah, so you've got the Ute tribe, and I think the Cherokee tribe, but I'm prepared to be corrected on that. So I do apologise if I've gotten that wrong. I have the ultimate respect for the First Nations and the Native American tribes. I think your folklore, your stories, your mythology, incredible storytellers. And I would love one day to go to, if I were allowed, respectfully, to go to a powwow and listen to some of the storytellers. That would be amazing. Yeah. So this particular creature is either a cursed person or a medicine man that inhabits the skin of a different form. So they can change their form. And it's not just like changing it from a human to an animal or a human to a bird. It's a monstrous creature. And the idea is that they will find you anywhere. They can mimic human speech. They are super strong. They are super fast. They eat human flesh, and they can actually drive you mad to the point where you will take your own life and do the job for them. But they can be sicked on a particular tribe or a family. They will not stop until that line is wiped out. Like, you could be several hundred years down the line and they are still coming for you. Wow. Also, if you encounter one, it then has your scent and it will come after you. If you That's fine. If you say the name too many times or think about it too much at night, it will find you. If you whistle indoors at night, they will find you. It's little things like that. And even though I'm British, I was born and raised in this country, I am very much like British Celtic background. I still do not like to whistle indoors after dark. Just in case. This is how much this has got to me. But yeah, they are terrifying. And if you go, be careful, but Google some of the art of them. They are them and Wendigos. Just no.
Yeah.
No. It's a battle of the horrifying features, really.
In it though. Here's the thing for my one. In Legend, it's one singular person causing all of this fear.
This is very true.
Yours is a group of people.
And could be
anyone.
New ones could be made and everything, but it's more like one could do a lot of damage, but it's often more than one.
Yeah, this is one singular person.
Yes.
Creating that much fear.
And also, whilst mine are potentially people like medicine men, people that turned into these things, yours is a spirit.
Yep.
So there are ways to potentially stop mine, like silver bullets, fire, prayers, medicine men, getting the local tribe on your side, things like that. There is no way to stop yours. So I'm going to go for yours. I'm going to go for the Kuchisake Onna.
Yeah, but technically you thought of her too.
Yes,
so it's a joint effort, really.
Yes. So Chai Tea, the scariest urban legend, the Kuchisake Onna.
The Kuchisake Onna.
Well done. I mean, I'll probably say it right, but
let's get everyone together.
Yeah.
Cool. So, kind of like our last bad one.
Yep.
The fermented tea bag.
Yes.
History's biggest villain. So,
just to give you a clue, our very first fermented tea bag winner was Adolf Hitler.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who won the second one?
I do not recall. We did it because we did the second one was over the year of everything that we'd done. So I think the second one was Chiodre.
Oh, might have been.
Yeah.
Doing this one, I didn't know whether to go for old or new.
Right, okay.
Because I would say at the moment we have quite a big villain.
Yes.
In the world.
Yes.
With a few of them.
We have a couple, yes.
Yeah, I'd say one is currently occupying one of the highest ranking terms in the world and lives in a big old house of the colour white.
Yep. Yep, not mentioning names.
No, I didn't need to mention.
I have a thing for the colour gold.
And orange.
Yes. Yeah.
But I thought we'd make this less political.
Yes.
We don't need to go into all that. Everyone knows. We knows. So I thought I'd go...
judge people for their political affiliations. Just don't hurt other people.
I decided to go for someone quite far away then.
Okay.
I went for Nero. Emperor Nero.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He ruled Rome back in the day with cruelty and excess. He watched the Great Fire of Rome burning. He was apparently playing music and having a party whilst Rome was burning.
Yep.
He blamed the Christians.
Yep.
And this led to a lot of mass arrests, tortures, and executions. He used to get Christians and basically cover them in like a wax type substance and make human candles.
Okay. I mean,
burning Christians, that's the kind of thing.
Yeah, I appreciate the reference there, by the way.
But he also ordered the deaths of his mother, his his mother, his stepbrother, and his wife. And he gave his girlfriend his wife's head in a basket. He had many political rivals, creating a climate of fear throughout the city. He spent vast sums of his golden palace, the Domus Aurora, and for citizens to attend endless performances to glorify himself. He basically did an Olympics, and he won everything.
Yeah, because didn't he make like poetry in Olympic sport?
Yeah. And he combined murder, extravagance and the abuse of power during his reign, leaving Rome scarred and cementing his reputation as one of history's most infamous, horrible emperors.
So infamous, he got assassinated by one of his own men. Yeah, one of his closest advisors. From what I remember from my masters, he because we covered him a bit. And didn't he let buildings burn, and then he'd go in afterwards and buy the buildings just so he could build his palace. There's not a whole lot of evidence that he ordered the fires to be started.
No.
However, there's also not a whole lot of evidence that he definitely didn't. And there were times when the fires went out and then mysteriously started back up again in areas that would be suitable for his palace extensions. So he didn't really do himself many favours.
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't quite... The old stories that he fiddled whilst Rome burned, he didn't. He played the lyre, I think it was.
But he played something. That's the important bit.
He played music.
Not the instrument he was playing, it was the fact that he was playing any sort of music while his
country burned.
His country and citizens burned.
They lost their livelihoods, they lost their homes, lost their lives, but no... Nero partied.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I get it. He's a dick. Yeah,
that's why I picked him.
Okay. I'm going to say this now. My guy is way worse.
Right, okay. So you've gone already.
And way more recent. So, yes, Nero did a lot. However, I have gone for Pol Pot.
Right, yeah. Winner.
He was born Salazar in 1925, and he led the Democratic Kampuchea, that was also the Khmer Rouge, responsible for the death of around 2 million people. He used execution, forced labour, disease and starvation to destroy between 20 to 25% of the population of the country of Cambodia. He forced the evacuation of cities, forced people into labour camps in the countryside, set up the killing fields for mass executions, including those of intellectuals and professionals, Buddhist monks and more. So you could be considered an intellectual if you wore glasses, spoke a foreign language, or didn't have the hands of a labourer if you had soft hands.
There you go, that's you then.
Yep, I would be screwed. His regime banned money. They banned private property and all religious practices as a very extreme form of communism. Basically, everybody was the same. You didn't have money, you didn't own anything, you didn't believe in anything except for the regime. That was it. Ethnic minorities were particularly targeted. His reign was ended in 1979 when Vietnamese forces invaded, though he continued to wage a guerrilla war against them until he was placed under house arrest, where he then died in 1998, having never stood trial or being held accountable for his crimes. And one of the most powerful stories I can remember, there are several, and there are still museums and areas dedicated to this in the same way as there are museums in concentration camps. There was a particular tree, and I cannot remember the name of it, but basically it was part of the killing fields of Cambodia. And when parents were killed, their babies were then taken and dashed against the tree.
I've heard that story.
Yeah. It was an incredibly, incredibly dark time. And the fact that he died within our lifetime.
Man, my baby sister's lifetime.
Yeah. It's crazy. But it's weird. We weren't taught a whole lot about him at school, but probably because it was still within relative living memory.
Probably.
But then again, we were taught about the Cuban Missile Crisis and things like that, which were within living memory, and the Vietnam War and the Korean War. So I don't know why we weren't taught about this, other than like the sheer scale of the horror of it.
Or maybe we aren't taught about it because
of that, yeah.
No, because he doesn't deserve notoriety. So we don't know about him. He's just fading into.
That's also nothingness. But I will give credit to my parents on this one, in that they were very keen for me to get as much of an education as possible, and they did tell me bits about Pol Pot, so that name was always known to me.
Thank you to my parents for telling me about this evil person.
Yes, for telling me about this evil dictator. No, they wanted me to know, as well as much as they wanted me to know about the good sides of humanity, they wanted me to know what humanity was capable of as well. And yeah, like Pol Pot, no.
We're children of the 80s. We know what humanity is capable of.
This is true. That's very, very true. But yeah,
he wins.
Yes.
He is the fermented teabag, the fermented douchebag.
Yeah, he deserves no other accolade. He deserves no accolade at all. No. He just deserves to be remembered as a villain.
He is our fermented teabag.
Yes.
Shall we just swiftly go on to the next one?
Yes.
This is a new category made up by my partner. He likes to be involved in stuff.
Yeah.
And he thought we should do one called Bubble Tea.
Yep.
Which is a really random event. Something kind of ridiculous. We've used that a lot in our life. So we've gone for random, stupid, insanity.
Like, how did this even happen? Why is this a thing? And he has actually given us a nomination for this. So I will read his nomination.
Okay. Cool. Should he go first or should we go first?
Should he go first?
Go on then.
So this is John's nomination for Bubble Tea, the most random event. And it was the Emu War, or the Great Emu War.
There's more than one.
I believe there was two.
Brilliant.
So it was a 1932 military operation in Western Australia where soldiers...
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, where soldiers armed with machine guns attempted to curb a population of approximately 20,000 emus that were destroying crops. Now, emus are a large flightless bird, bigger than a cassowary, not as big as an ostrich. The birds actually proved remarkably elusive and resilient, so they actually took out... There was over 1,000, actually less than 1,000 emus were killed in this war. And the Great Emu War, they lost to the emus. The emus won the Great Emu War. The campaign failed. So just some context. So this was after World War One, so in 1932. There were some veterans that were given land to farm in Western Australia. There was then a drought that drove these migrating emus, so nearly 20,000 of them, into the farming area, and they ruined the crops, they ruined the fences. In response, the Australian government sent Major GPW Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery, along with 2 soldiers armed with 2 Lewis automatic machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition to try and sort out these 20,000 emus. But the emus were clever. They had battle tactics. They split into small groups and scattered in all directions, moving really, really quickly, which made them really hard to aim at. So they basically scattered. Major Meredith actually noted their ability to take hits and keep running, and he actually described them as having the invulnerability of tanks. So basically, the military operation lasted from November to December in 1932 and was considered a failure. And the government withdrew the troops after it was ridiculed, and the emus won the battle. However, farmers later requested help again. The government instituted a bounty system instead of a military operation. So the Second Emu War was more of a bounty hunting, and that actually proved more successful. So the Great Emu War was 20,000 emus versus 3 heavily armed artillery officers. And the emus won by employing battle tactics.
Go on, emus.
I mean
that is definitely, he gave a good event for the bubble tea.
It's ridiculous. It's just, and I say this with love to the Australians, it is the most Australian thing to think of.
Absolutely.
Oh, so
everyone else was sat down having a Dickens cider.
Nice.
Is it as hilarious as putting rats on trial? I've chosen, and you know this one,
yes,
because it is heavily featured in a chapter of in our first book, Strange Ways to Die in the Tudor Ages.
Yep.
Because we have a thing about animal accidents.
Yep.
And
crime and punishment, and apparently the two coincide.
Yes, so this is the rat trial. In the early 1500s, in the French town of Autun,
yep.
Farmers overwhelmed by rats were eating their barley crop. They brought a case before the court that has come to be known as the Trial of the Rats. The court formally summoned the rodents to answer for their destructions. But no rats appeared. What the hell did they do? A young lawyer named Barthélemy de Chazouens. I did it very wrong. My partner is fluent in French. He's going to hate that.
He's probably going to ridicule me for it as
well. He argued that they couldn't be held accountable because the summons hadn't been properly served to them, and later because the journey to court was too dangerous with cats and dogs in the streets.
I mean, yeah, it's valid. Absolutely valid.
The judge accepted these unusual legal arguments, Multiple attempts to reschedule the trial of the rats came to nothing, so the case was eventually dropped, effectively acquitting the rats of their crimes. This bizarre episode highlights how in medieval times, animal trials, sometimes with appointed lawyer and formal procedures, were occasionally used to address crop damage and other problems in a way that mirrored human legal practices. Yeah. So it's not just that there was a trial by rats, it's the fact that the rats didn't appear, and the lawyer was like, what do you expect? There's cats and dogs outside. They'll kill the rats. Yeah, they can't expect them. That's dangerous.
They've got to make their way here, and it's just
dangerous. We'll try and reschedule, but there's always going to be cats and dogs around, so you might as well just acquit my clients of this crime.
And you've got to make sure that you serve this properly. So can you imagine, like, the Tudor era version of a court process server going to find these rats and just being like, you have been summoned to appear in court.
They weren't. They couldn't be there.
Yeah,
the cats and the dogs, Carrie.
Yeah, there was no clear path. There was no clear way to get these rats to court.
I'm so glad that this tea came after the last one.
Yes, yeah, we did go about that subject switch.
Okay, so what is your random event? Go up against the Emu War and the trial of the rats.
To be honest with you, my one sounds very. It's very meh in comparison. So mine is something else that's mentioned in a different book, so in Strange Ways to Die in the Dark Ages. Mine is the Cadaver Synod, or Synod. And this took place in 897 in Rome. And basically it was a politically motivated trial where Pope Formosus was put on trial for alleged violations of church law.
Right.
The thing was, Pope Formosus was dead by that point. His successor, Pope Stephen VI, exhumed Pope Formosus and dressed his decaying corpse in pontifical robes, so all the regalia of a pope, and then basically put him on trial in court for various crimes in violation of the church law. So some of the crimes were perjury, violating canon law against translating bishopric, so moving from one diocese to another, and illegitimately coveting the papacy. So basically saying you should never have been pope, blah, blah, blah. The trial, it was political, and there were two main factions. So the faction that supported Formosus was a Carolingian faction named after Charlemagne or Charles. So Charles was Carolus in Latin, Carolingian. And the Spoletan faction supported Stephen, and they were rival factions. So it wasn't just madness, it was politically motivated. However, surprise, surprise, the dead pope that was starting to decompose and could not defend himself was found guilty. So then we move on to punishment. His papacy was declared invalid. Anything that he'd done was annulled. And 3 fingers that were used on his right hand for blessing, so he used to bless people, they were then severed. The body was then buried for a short time. Then they thought, you know what? We've put him on trial. This isn't enough. We've cut off his fingers. This isn't enough. Let's dig him back up and we're going to throw him in the Tiber River. Ignore the fact that was a public water source, but there you go. Yeah. It did actually cause quite a spectacle and eventually ended up in the overthrow and murder of Pope Stephen VI. And there were later popes that then annulled the council and recovered his remains from the Tiber and reburied him. Reburied Formosus. But yeah, he had a deacon assigned to answer for him, so he technically did have a defence counsel, but also he was dead. And the deacon was appointed by the Pope that was putting him on trial. So it was not necessarily legally above board here. But yeah, he was mutilated, he was guilty, he was mutilated, he was thrown into the river.
Who wins the bubble tea?
I'm genuinely inclined to say the Emu War.
Me too.
Just because of how completely ridiculous it is.
Should I go get him and tell him?
Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah, she's going to go get John. So I'm just going to pause this and then bring John back in. We would like to briefly and quickly welcome John to the podcast. Hello, John.
Hello.
John is Emily's partner and the father of the baby, and is the winner of the Bubble Tea Award for most random event for the Emu War because of how utterly ridiculous it is.
Very ridiculous. Very, very ridiculous.
We discussed that. I did the rats trial, the trial by rats.
Fair.
I did the cadaver synod where a dead pope was put on trial.
Fantastic.
Found guilty.
But we agreed that the Emu War was hilarious and deserved to be the winner. Yep. So we thought we'd get you to tell you that you were victorious and the winner of the Bubble Tea Award.
Well, thank you very much. I think the most ridiculous thing about it is the fact that emus won.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there was a second one.
I know. You'd think they'd learned the first time, wouldn't you?
The emus won because they used battle tactics.
I know.
They scattered.
But yeah.
Yeah.
You may leave now.
Thank you very much.
Fatherly duties.
Sure.
Thank you, John. Our next category is Yorkshire tea, aka Peasant's Choice.
Yeah, so people may not agree with that, but we're PG tips drinkers, so
yeah. But it's a tea that appeals to the masses.
Yeah,
or some of them at least.
So this is the one that we put to our friends, our families, to the wider public, to ask who you would like to put down as a historical goodo.
Yeah. So someone who's influential, someone who means a lot to you.
Yes.
So we have the nominations from our friends and family. And what we're going to do is we're going to put them on our socials and then you, the public, can decide.
Yes.
Cool. So your nominations are Florence Nightingale, Isambard Kingdom Brunel, Durando, who this one, so the first two was shout out to Anastasia Starling and Dave Swinton. This one is for Dave Llewellyn, who said Durando, who was disqualified from the first London Marathon for being helped over the line and spent the last mile drunk on red wine.
I like him, he sounds fun.
Yeah. And then there's Steve Kerman, who gave us James Wild Bill Hickok and Buffalo Bill, aka William Cody. And Kevin Roberts, who gave us Alexander the Great.
And John said the Wright brothers because, and I quote, flying in it.
So eloquent.
Me.
Flying in it.
Yeah.
So those are your nominations. Florence Nightingale, Isambard Kingdom Brunel, Durando, James Hickok, Buffalo Bill, Alexander the Great, and the Wright brothers, because flying in it.
Yep. Of course, we will put their on and we will let you know in subsequent podcasts who may have won. Next, back to us. Our last two teas.
Yeah. Our penultimate category
is the chamomile tea, which is for the most ridiculous survival, because we don't always end on a death on our podcast. Sometimes we like to celebrate the people who've survived things that they should not have survived.
Yep.
So, who have you gone for, my dude?
I have gone, and I apologise if I say this wrong, I've gone for Julianne Kupka. So Julianne, she still is a mammologist specialising in bats. Very educated woman. She graduated in 1971, and then the next day she flew out on a Lancer Flight 508 with her mother Maria. Due to the time of year, this was the only flight they could get to where they were going, which was Panguana in the Americas. But her father was apprehensive because the Lancer airline had quite a bad reputation. Turns out he was right to be, because the plane was struck by lightning partway through the flight, and it essentially disintegrated because of the poor quality of the plane, plummeting all passengers to the ground below. Kupka was strapped to her row of seats, so she was strapped to a row of seats, and she ended up falling 3,000 metres or 10,000 feet into the Amazon rainforest below. She survived the fall and is the only known survivor of the event.
So she lost her mum?
Yeah. A couple of people did survive afterwards, but they then died before they could be rescued.
Okay.
But she survived the fall. She ended up with a broken collarbone, a deep cut in her right arm, an eye injury, and a ruptured knee ligament and a concussion in the middle of the Amazon jungle, completely alone. For 11 days, she survived out in the rainforest, following a creek to a river. She fought off insects. She had a botfly larvae infestation in her injured arm and general exhaustion as well, not to mention the grief as well. After 11 days, she managed to find a lumberjack camp and was taken to safety and thereafter to hospital, where she survived.
Wow.
So she survived a 10,000 foot fall into the jungle, and they believe it's the fact that she was strapped to the seat that broke her fall. It basically acted as a de facto parachute.
Yeah.
But 10,000 feet fall, 3,000 metres into the rainforest, multiple injuries, including a larva infestation, and she managed not only to survive, but to hike her way out.
That's insane. The determination to survive.
Yeah.
You mean, that reminds me of that infamous quote by that legendary parrot Iago from Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be surprised what you can live through.
Yep.
If I can bring Disney into it as a quote, I mean, absolutely will.
Why not? Why not? So, who is your chamomile?
I've gone for Frayne Selleck. Apologies if I pronounce that wrong. I pronounce many things wrong. He is kind of known as the luckiest man alive, world's luckiest man, because of his seemingly impossible escapes from death. So not just one, multiple.
Mm-hmm.
He was born in Croatia and he survived a remarkable series of accidents over his lifetime. These included a train derailment, a plane crash, a car explosion, and a bus he was in plunging into a river, often only walking away with minor injuries. In one particular bizarre twist, he even won the lottery later in life, adding to his legend of being the world's luckiest man. Despite facing circumstances that would have killed most people multiple times over, his uncanny luck and resilience made him a modern folklore figure, celebrated for surviving these disasters that would kill everybody else. He did die, however, on the 30th of November 2016 at the age of 87, but he passed away of natural causes in his sleep.
It's kind of like the unsinkable Stoker. But if you were travelling and you saw this guy on your transport, you just like, no.
So he survived a train crash, a plane crash, a car explosion, and was riding a bus plunging into a river.
I mean, his guardian angel must have been exhausted.
Right?
And the fact that he got a lottery win as well. It's just like, you jammy beggar.
Yeah.
Okay, I think just for the sheer amount of things, I mean, mine was pretty epic.
Yeah, she survived something. He survived many things.
Yes.
She survived one hell of a thing.
Yeah, she survived one hell of a thing, but from the sheer amount of, oh my God... He was having multiple bad days and still came out of it with scratches.
Yeah.
So, I think Frayne Selleck wins.
Fair.
Yeah.
Very, very close, though, because she survived something nobody probably should survive. But he survived 5 things nobody would probably survive. So
it's, honestly, it was, to survive one thing is epic. To survive 5 is just, what?
Yeah.
So, the chamomile tea winner for ridiculous survivals, Frayne Selleck.
Yay! Well done, Frayne.
Which then leads us to our final award.
And it wouldn't be us if we didn't. It is the defective teabag, or...
most ridiculous death.
Obviously, we have to end with a ridiculous death. It wouldn't be a nice cup of ficity if we didn't. It's hard to find one we haven't spoken about, not just on the podcast, but also we've written 2 books about dying stupidly. Yes. So it's quite hard to find one that we still deem as ridiculous.
See, I found one, and I think we've spoken about them before, but I don't know if we've done a full ridiculous death on them. But I think they deserve to be mentioned. But I've also got an honorary mention just because of what the hell, but it is in very recent times.
Okay, go on then.
So we try to avoid talking about things in the last 50 years, but this one caught my eye.
Fair.
This happened in 1998 in Buenos Aires in Argentina. There's a woman named Marta Espina who was out walking when a dog named Cachi fell on her from the 13th floor of a building, killing her. If that wasn't bad enough, an onlooker stopped in shock at what had happened and got run over by a bus. A second bystander, seeing all of this, then died of shock.
3 people died.
And a dog.
That's ridiculous in itself.
I don't know.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
I don't know how the dog fell off the balcony. I don't know the circumstances leading to that. Yeah, she was imagine just walking and all of a sudden a dog lands on you.
Well, we've written about suddenly cow.
Yeah,
suddenly dog.
Suddenly canine.
Suddenly canine.
Musical theatre nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the honorary mention. So, who is your actual candidate?
Okay. This is a guy. He is a general. Mm-hmm. He was a general. John Sedgwick.
Yep.
He was during the American Civil War. He was at the Battle of Spotsylvania, courthouse in 1864. He was known for his courage and his leadership while observing his troops under fire from Confederate sharpshooters.
I just tweeted who this guy is.
Yes. He was confident that the enemy could not reach him. Yep. And he reportedly said, "They couldn't hit an elephant at that distance," leaning casually in view of the snipers. Moments later, he was struck in the head by a bullet and killed instantly. This incident remains one of history's most striking examples of tragic irony, where overconfidence and misjudgments of danger led to a sudden and totally avoidable death.
I mean, that's famous last words for all the wrong reasons.
Isn't it?
They couldn't hit an elephant at this distance. Bang. Well, yeah, they could hit you.
Okay. So yeah, General John Sedgwick is my contender.
Okay, so technically he took someone else did it, but he took himself out of the gene pool in a stupid way.
Yeah.
My one,
he was the cause of his ridiculous death.
My one is he wasn't the cause of his ridiculous death. Someone else was, but it's just are you genuinely that stupid?
Okay, go on.
So it was Charles II of Navarre. Also known as Charles the Bad. He was not a very popular king. He was quite ruthless, quite brutal, bit of a nasty piece of work.
Dickhead.
Yeah. But towards the end of his life, he had a really bad fever. And he got himself wrapped up in bed. So his doctors basically said every night they needed to wrap him in blankets, and these blankets needed to be soaked in alcohol, so they would then constrict on him and he'd be really warm overnight. He'd sweat the fever out, basically.
In theory, could have worked.
And what would happen is he'd be put in these blankets and they would have to be sewn up. So he had servants that sewed the blankets up, and one night a servant sewed these alcohol-soaked blankets, and as she was getting to his neck, she noticed a little bit of string that was hanging out. Instead of cutting this, she took a candle and burnt the string, which basically lit the entire king and all of his room on fire in alcohol-soaked flames.
Oh my Christ.
The alcohol-soaked linen quickly caught fire and it burned him to death.
Well, obviously. Oh.
Yeah, on the 1st of January, 1387. Happy New Year, Charles of Navarre. I mean, a bonfire on New Year?
I'm guessing that servant was in trouble.
I'm not really sure what happened to her afterwards, but yeah, she probably didn't come out of it very, very well.
No.
But yeah. I mean, what in your head? Because the smell of she knew what she was doing because she was there to sew it up. She knew that he was in his blanket.
Yeah.
But also, what goes through your head? You would have smelled the alcohol in there because it was brandy that he was soaked in. So, I mean, it was expensive as well. So he was soaked in brandy. And then she's just like, oh yeah, I'll just quickly grab this candle. Oh no.
I mean, his fever left.
Yeah, apparently she panicked and ran away.
Well, I would.
Yeah.
I would shit myself, quite frankly.
Yep.
And run.
Yep.
Oh, which one is
do we do...
I think that's the most stupid one.
Accidental suicide or accidental regicide?
No, I think the bandages and the candle one is the most stupid.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, just because it's like, how could you forget? How could you have such a monumental lapse of judgment?
My one is basically he's just a cocky dickhead and was like, no, they couldn't hit me. Oh,
they did. I'd like to think that his spirit just kind of stood there next to his body going, well, damn, took that one up, didn't I? Well,
wow. So, yeah.
The winner of the defective teabag, most ridiculous death, Charles II of Navarre and his hapless servant. Beautiful. You're going to do all the sound effects from now on.
I am.
Yep.
So that's it.
Yeah.
We finished our first podcast back in 18 months. Yay! It was a bit of a bumper episode, but the Histortea Awards usually are.
Yes, they are.
Because they're little snippets of little bits that we love.
And we did do a mammoth apology at the beginning.
And we did.
Yes, because you deserve it.
You do.
I love you.
And to give you a bit of a life update.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need to check us out. We aren't just a nice cup of Histortea anymore.
Ooh.
We've combined all of our creative endeavours into one kind of brand. Mm-hmm. And we are E&C Creative Curiosities.
That's with an ampersand, word and.
We have our website, which has links to our books, our scripts that we have got written, to this podcast. We also
I'm either providing air or becoming an owl, I'm not sure.
You can contact us through our website.
Yeah.
And we also are on Instagram and Facebook, both as A Nice Cup of Histortea, as always, just for this podcast, but also E&C Creative Curiosities. So you can be kept up to date with everything. So it's very exciting.
Drop us a line, say hi, give us an idea for a future episode.
Yes.
We'd love to hear it.
Absolutely.
We've got a couple more to come, and we've got some plans moving forward, so let's keep the momentum going. Yeah.
Definitely. And buy our books, The Strange Way to Die in the Tudor Ages.
And Strange Ways to Die in the Dark Ages.
And let us know what you think. And we'll be back soon.
Thank you, and good night. Or good day.
Bye.